Hey, welcome back, everybody, for another review. Today we're going to talk about a movie called Opus. So, this is a movie that is directed and written by a gentleman named Mark Anthony Green. I think this is his first feature from what I know. And of course, the two main stars are Io Adebri and John Malkovich. Damn, forgot his name. Essentially, this story it follows a journalist who is invited to a listening party for this pop star who has been missing essentially from or disappeared from the limelight for almost 30 years, and he's releasing this album after 30 years, and there's like a select few of people that get selected to come to this unclassified area to or unidentified area to listen to his new album. And of course, things seem a little off and things don't go according to plan as per usual. This movie comes to us from A24. I think they picked it up from Sundance because this is a movie that I really wanted to check out for Sundance, but like I've said in a previous video that since 2020 I haven't really been able to do the online Sundance stuff as much as I wanted because like stuff is just not available like it was in 2020. Sorry, I did it in 2021. It wasn't as it's not as available as it was then. So, but anyway, this is one that I did want to check out, and from what I gather, the reviews weren't too good coming out of Sundance, and I was like, okay, well, it is what it is. I said I'll go. I'm interested in it because the trailer piqued my interest, and I'll be honest, I might be on an island with this one, but I actually really enjoyed this movie. This is a movie that once the story really kicked in, I was really enthralled with what was going to happen. It's one of those movies, like, at least to me, it was a really solid mystery. Like, I really wanted to know where things were going to go, what was going to happen, and what was going to happen to most of these characters. I think what really drew me to this is if you see the trailer, you can tell that there is a cult aspect to it because, obviously she's drawn out to this listening party, in the middle of nowhere. It's its own community out there. And even as soon as they arrive, you immediately pick up on this, like, oh, this is obviously a cult. And I don't know why, but I've always been fascinated with how cults work. I love documentaries on cults and things like that. So that's something that's always piqued my interest. So there's certain movies when they're done, it always kind of intrigues me because I want to know how they're going to do it and how they're going to tell a certain story of a cult to see if they're going to do anything different with it or tell a new kind of story with it. And I think this story does a really good job of building dread because you have to follow this character for the first like 20 minutes or so, 20, 30 minutes or so about how, she wants to be a writer and she wants to, one day write books and publish articles and things like that. And once you get to the cult area, whatever you want to call it, you can tell as soon as they step off of this bus, you can tell something's just not right. Like you get, at least for me, I got this uneasy feeling that is almost like a ticking time bomb. Like you were just waiting for something to go off. So you're kind of at the edge of your seat. Like not only are you enthralled with what the story is going on, with what's happening in the story, but you also in the back of your mind, you're like, how's this going to play out? And when are things going to play out? And when are things going to turn horribly wrong? Because I know at some point that's going to happen. So it does a fine line of keeping you on the edge of your seat throughout that. And even really before that, when they kind of mention John Malkovich's character who plays this pop star, there's this weird uneasiness to it even from them when they're just talking about him from the beginning. And you're like, okay, was there always something with this guy or was this something that came later? But there's just always, like I said, even before you get to the listening party, there's even something when they're talking about him at the beginning. And even really in the credits, or like the beginning of the credits when you see parts of John Malkovich performing, you're kind of like, there's just something kind of off. But you cannot deny the music was catchy as shit. Like he had some really good music. Like I was like, this is awesome. I can see why people kind of getting into this and feeling this. But you had that with this hint of uneasiness even at the very beginning through that. So and it just does this great job of building it throughout. There's even a particular scene later on where John Malkovich's character takes Io's character into like this almost, what do you want to call it? It's not a building or it's almost like this small shack and just to show her something. And the way that is edited together with these quick cuts and the way that this music builds, you're kind of just like, the whole time because you're like, I want to know when's this coming? When's this build up going to pay off? Because it does a great job of releasing you of that tension, but it's very short lived. It doesn't fully release it. Like with a jump scare, when a jump scare happens, you're built up for it, and then bam, you can rest for a minute. This one didn't feel like that at all. It builds and builds and builds, and then you're still on the edge, and then something maybe minor will happen, and it'll kind of maybe ease it just a hair, but you're still on the edge of your seat, so you're still like, okay, what's going to happen next, or when is it going to happen next? And it does a fantastic job of building that and never really letting you go throughout the whole movie. Not only that, you're kind of enthralled. At least for me, I was so enthralled with the story that I didn't want to look away. Like I wanted to, I was like, how is this going to end? Like I was just completely enthralled with the story. And I think with that, the mixture of such an interesting story and being drawn into the story, and with that constant building of tension, I think it was a perfect mix, and I think they did it fantastically. Of course, your two leads are really fantastic in this. You have Io, which I mentioned earlier. I only know her from The Bear. I've never seen The Bear, but I know she's won some awards for The Bear, and she's great in this as the journalist who's trying to figure all this out. And John Malkovich, his performance, it delivers a fantastic performance. It reminded me of how subtle Hugh Grant was in Heretic, because he also has to play like this real subtle person, but it's at the same time there's this unease about him to where you're like, okay, something's not 100% with this guy, but he plays it so well to where you're like, I kind of like this guy, but you're like, at the same time, you're like, something's really going to just off about this dude. So it reminded me a lot of Hugh Grant and Heretic of last year, and there's even parts in it where he has to go a little over the top, but he never goes so over the top that it's unbelievable or anything like that. He does a very good job of restraining himself in certain parts, but for the most part, he's this real subtle, calm, collective guy, and you're like, I want to trust this guy, but at the same time, you're like, I don't trust this guy at all. There's just something so off about him. And to me, John Malkovich played that part just perfectly. He just teetered that line, and it was great. He did a fantastic job. And of course, there's other side characters that also get invited to this listening party, and you get a little bit of time with them. You don't get a lot, but at the same time, you're left. And Juliette Lewis is one of the side characters. Of course, she does an amazing job. But it's interesting because you're wondering, okay, did these people get invited on purpose, or is it just luck of the draw? And it's also in the back of your head because there's one particular character who's hinted at the beginning when they're going there. They're like, oh, I can't believe this guy showed up because, him and John Malkovich's character had a falling out, and you're kind of like, So you're kind of like, okay, are these people invited because they said something about John Malkovich's character at some point in their life, or they trashed him or made fun of him or something like that? Or, like I said, or is it just luck of the draw? So all that's kind of going in your head as you're watching this movie, because you're trying to piece stuff together while stuff is unfolding in front of you. And like I said, it just makes for this really good edge-of-your-seat thriller movie. Now, I know for some, this is really kind of considered a slow burn type movie. I mean, it's A24. A24 is mainly known for slow burn stuff. I don't know. I personally enjoy slow burn movies. And this is coming from a dude who likes over-the-top, cheesy 80s slashers. I don't understand. For me, they work so well for me, especially if the story's good. If the story's good, I'm there regardless. There's just something about slow burns they can tell. Now, there's some, don't get me wrong, where I've been like, holy crap, I'm out. But this one in particular, yeah, I could see it being a slow burn, but I was fully into the story. Like, I was sucked in, especially like as soon as they get the invitation for the listening party. Like, from there to the end, I was just completely just sucked in and enthralled with what was going to happen. And I think as long as the story is good, the slow burn aspect doesn't bother me. I know some people, the slow burn thing is just not for them. And I saw a lot of people saying that was one of the reasons why this didn't work for them. And I get that. Just know who you are when you're going into that. Like I said, for me, slow burn is great. Like, to me, I get more hits than misses out of slow burns. I think this movie, at least to me, I caught on to a lot of things where I think this movie has a lot to say about society and things like that. And it has like this social commentary on society. And I don't know if anybody else caught this, but at least to me, it almost was the way that these certain people, are really just obsessed with John Malkovich's character. To me, it was almost like a social commentary on how certain people idolize celebrities and how they hold them to this such high standard. And I even saw a comment about this movie that made me die laughing that I thought was hilarious. It said, I don't remember who said it, but it was this guy that said, I feel like this movie is how Taylor Swift's listening parties are. I'm sorry. I thought that was great. Again, it's one of those movies to where it doesn't shove that down your throat. It's one of those things where you could watch it as just a fun thriller, and you could pick up nothing. You're like, cool, this was just a fun movie for me. But at the same time, other people could also pick up that it's this, great, that it's this really good thriller, but it also has something to say with it. And like I said, I love movies that are able to pull off both, and it's not overbearing and beating you over the head with what it's trying to say. And at least to me, I didn't get that. Like, I thought that it was a very good mix of the two. Like, depending on who you are, you could go enjoy it as one movie or the other, and just find a good blend of both. I think one of my biggest nitpicks though about this movie, but I go back and forth on it because it's hard to explain. But so as stuff is unfolding in the movie, and stuff starts to get weirder and stranger and just real not normal behavior as the movie goes along. Ariel, which is the main character, she's the only one that starts to question of, hey, is shit kind of weird for you guys too, or is this just me? She's the one that starts to ask questions about certain things. And of course, everybody that she came with, they're like, oh, no, that's just classic him. Nah, that's just, all that stuff. And I'm like, but this is not normal. I was like, I feel like anybody that is not, for example, that's not been in like a cult or a mindset of like that, I feel like any other normal person would have been like, yo, something's off here. Like, anybody that's invited to a listening party for an album, I don't care. Yeah, I know they're supposed to be journalists and TV talk shows hosts and all that stuff, but still, I feel like there's a part of me that'd be like, yeah, something's a little weird here. Something's just not normal. And to where the society of that John Malkovich has been living in, all them, that's considered normal to them. And even when Ariel starts to ask questions about certain things and the answers that she gets from people living there, she's kind of like, okay. And when she tries to tell people, the other people that she came with, what's going on or what she thinks is going on, and people don't believe her. There's even certain parts where, without giving anything away, where something happens to particularly one of the people she's with, her boss that she's with, and you're like, dude, come on now. You're like, you can't tell me that that's not. And I'm like, it's just an accident. I'm like, what? I'm like, come on now. It's the same with like, people start going missing and shit like that, and you're like, it's just they're getting prepped for dinner. It's no big deal. And everybody else is like, oh yeah, that guy, yeah, whatever. It's just classic him. And she's just standing there like, are you fucking serious? That's my one biggest nitpick, because I'm like, I just feel like regardless, at some point you'd be like, yeah, something's a little off here. I understand. I've seen a lot of stuff this has been compared to, like Get Out, Midsummer, The Menu, and I can see that, and I understand where people are coming from. This is not anything new by any means. Of course, this is a story that we've seen before, but I think it's I don't know. To me, it was just enjoyable. I still enjoyed it. I got something out of it. It was one of the movies that I've really, really been attached to this year that I've seen so far, that I've been like, damn, I walked out and I was like, I really like that movie. And I only had that for a select few of movies last year. And so this is really, to me, the first movie for, for 2025 that I've been like, damn, yeah, I got up and was like, damn, that was good. I really enjoyed that. Like I said, I might be on an island because the majority of reviews I've seen for this movie and read and whatnot have not been positive at all. Most people have really hated it. I don't get it, but that's the beauty of art. Everybody takes something differently away from movies, art, music, whatever. That's the beauty of it. if it was up, I mean, I would recommend this to people to check out if if you're into movies like that. Just really for the mystery of it. Like, it does a great job of unfolding this mystery because, at least to me, like I said in the beginning, I wanted to know what was going to happen. I was so drawn in that I was like, I got to see how this goes, how this ends. And it just takes you for this wild ride along the way. One of the things I also really enjoyed before I wrap this, I just wanted to say that I kind of appreciate how it ended. And of course, I'm not going to give anything away about that. But it ends on this note that kind of leaves you to think. And you're kind of like, wow. And I have really been enjoying movies that end on particular notes. I'm really having to tiptoe around this because I really don't want to spoil anything or give a hint of anything where anything goes. And God, it's so hard to say. But I look, it's a reality thing, and a lot of movies do certain things to tie up stuff in this perfect bow, and I feel like this doesn't do that. And I don't know. I appreciate movies like that. Like I said, I'm trying not to say too much because it's so hard to tiptoe around because anything that I could literally say could give it away, and you're like, oh well, that's how it ends. But I don't know. I really appreciated the ending. I like movies that do this because not a lot of movies take this route, and yeah, I enjoyed it. So that's all I'll say about the ending because, like I said, I don't want to give nothing away. Just know who you are going in because I know sometimes these slower burn, dialogue-driven, heavy movies don't work for everybody. But there's like I said, but the story's really interesting. There's a lot of stuff and surprises and stuff sprinkled in there, and I don't know. I had a lot of fun with it, so I would recommend it. But hey, that's just me. Like I said, my opinion. Like, I like movies, a lot of people don't, and vice versa. So I would recommend seeking it out. But thank you guys so much for coming back to check out this review. I have more reviews scattered around for 2025. I'll put some cards up here. I will also have a video coming out about my weekend at Mad Monster very soon. It's already been shot and edited. I'm just waiting to put it up. So that will be out very, very soon. But until then, thank you guys so much. Please like, comment, and subscribe as always. If you've seen Opus, please comment below and let me know what you thought about it because I would really like to know what other people thought about it. I've seen, reviewers and stuff like that, but I would like to see I would really love to hear what other audience members and just regular moviegoers thought about it. So just comment below, let me know, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.